Hello everyone, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another one of my Crack-a-Pack videos. We're doing more Aether Revolt this week. Next week, I think, if the packs get here in time, we'll actually be doing Modern Masters 2017. If not next week, the week after. And also a reminder that if you reply in these comments that you want to enter into the drawing, you can win all the cards that we open in the Crack-a-Packs this month. For now, we're still doing Aether Revolt, as I said, so let's just go ahead and get started with our Aether Revolt pack. And of course, we're going to be talking about these cards in the context of limited, most especially what would be the first pick, basically. That's what we're talking about here, but I give you my thoughts on all the cards. So our first common is Dispersion Technician. It's a card that a lot of people thought was going to be better than it was, including myself, than it is. I mean, it's a 5-mana 3/2 who bounces something, and that's usually something I'm into. But the problem is it only bounces artifacts. And a lot of times you just end up getting rid of a Servo, which isn't the worst, but it's not great. It's great to side in against people running like Iron Tread Crusher and stuff like that, because that's a pretty big tempo hit when their vehicle can't attack again, but I don't main board it most of the time. Dawn Feather Eagle is our next common, though, and that is something I main board, and in weak packs, it's a reasonable first pick. It's perhaps the best white common. For 5 mana, you get a 3/3 who gives +1/+1 and Vigilance to your whole team for a turn. Gets even better if you can blink things. So Dawn Feather Eagle is quite good. Right now, it would be what our first pick is. Next, we have Embrawl Gear Smasher. Card that's fine, but it's kind of a red card that I cut a lot of the time. A 3-mana 2/3 is reasonable, and it gives you a little bit of reach. He's good in a deck if you can really get a lot of low-costed artifacts, especially Implements, who will draw you cards while he sacrifices them, but nothing exciting. Now we have a card that's sometimes main boardable, but of course you'd rather have like Appetite for the Unnatural, but it's a good sideboard card. It gets to put artifacts on the bottom of libraries, but not first pickable. Here's Resourceful Return, a card I like a lot, I think more than most people, because I've heard a lot of people talk somewhat disparagingly about Resourceful Return. But I like it a decent amount because, especially if I'm in an improvised deck, because it just fits perfectly into it. If they manage to kill your improvised threat and you have Resourceful Return, you get it back and you get to draw a card, most likely, because you improvised a creature into play. So that's a pretty good thing to be able to do. But we're still on Dawn Feather Eagle as our first pick. Resourceful Return is something you can pick up late if you're in the improvised deck, and that's generally what I do with it. I don't ever take it early. Now we have a basically unplayable card in Prizefighter Construct, just a 5-mana 6/2. I kind of feel like they put it there so it can crew Constellate Dreadnought all on its own, but that's not reason enough to play it. Sweatworks Brawler, another pretty good common. It's a good improvised creature, not very hard to play as a 3-mana 3/3 with Menace, and if you're in an aggro deck, that's great. Dawn Feather Eagle is still better than it, in my opinion. Okay, now we've got Renegade Map, which is not a bad first pick at all. Splashing's great. It's great with Improvise. It's great with Revolt. It just hits everything you want to do. So it's close, but I think I would still take the Eagle over the map, but it's definitely close. Implement of Improvement, probably like the worst implement because white doesn't improvise at all. Can help you with Revolt, if nothing else, but it's not very exciting. I would play it in a lot of white decks, but I'm not going to first pick it. Okay, well here I think we're looking at the card that's our new first pick, and that is Winding Constrictor, who of all the gold cards in this set I think is probably the most powerful. It certainly isn't constructed. It's a key card in a constructed deck, and if you first pick this guy and can build around him, it's ridiculous, because there's so many +1/+1 counter synergies that just get out of control very quickly and are very difficult to beat. So we're looking at Winding Constrictor right now as our first pick. Okay, speaking of cards having an impact in Constructed, our next uncommon is Felidar Guardian. Not usually first pickable. I play it in most of my white decks because it helps you with Revolt, it helps you blink a creature within a battlefield ability, it gets an aura off of a creature, and at worst it sort of gives a creature vigilance. So it's a pretty good card, and it blocks really well, but it's not really a first pickable card unless the pack is particularly weak. Then we have Servo Schematic. Great card in an improvised deck, but not first pickable at all. Just gives you 2 artifacts for 1. Does work decently with our Gear Smasher we saw earlier, because he can sacrifice it and get you another Servo. Okay, here's our rare, which is Call for Unity. It's a card I've had decent success with. It's pretty nice. If you're in a creature-heavy deck, it's really not very hard for it to just keep ticking up. Basically, your creatures get an Anthem effect for, at the end of your turn, this card gets another counter, and for each counter, it gets all your creatures get +1/+1, and it gets the counters for revolting. So it's pretty sweet. Oh, and we have another rare, a foil War of Invention, a really cool card. Has a lot of applications in like Commander, especially, but not very good and limited at all. It's got a triple blue cost, and you're just generally not going to have an artifact strong enough that you're like, man, I want to Whir of Invention that into play. So I wouldn't take it. And then we have a Plains. So even though we got 2 rares in this pack, neither of them are very first pickable. I wouldn't even play Whir of Invention. I would play, as I said, Call for Unity, but I wouldn't take it early. In the end, our top 3 picks, I think, in order are, I would take Winding Constrictor from this pack. He is gold card, yes, but so strong that it's worth the risk. And you're not giving up a ton. I mean, our next best cards are Dawn Feather Eagle, who is good, and you're happy to play in any white deck, and Renegade Map, which you're happy to play in any deck, period. So you're sort of giving up 2 cards that are more likely to make your deck because they're not gold, but Winding Constrictor is just so powerful that I think you have to first pick it usually if you see it, unless your pack has what's it called? Untethered Express or something like that in it that's just clearly better, or the 5 mana 5/5 Rich Scale Tusker, that's what it's called. There's those uncommons that are better than Winding Constrictor, and they're monocolored or colorless in the case, but other than that, Winding Constrictor is one of the best uncommons, and it's what I would take in this pack. Let me know in the comments what you would take in this pack. Also, a reminder, my content is sponsored in part by 5colorcombo.com. You can head over to their website. They have a cool app for helping you practice drafting Aether Revolt. And they also have a store where you can use my discount code NEEDSAHONE5 to get a 5% discount. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more Crack-A-Packs and even more limited content. And yeah, so thanks for watching.